The other day I was meditating after reading a book called Meditations by Marco Aurelio, and I had this thought of, okay, how did life start? You know, these existential type of thoughts that sometimes come into our heads. But I was like, you know what? It was night, and I decided, let me look, let me also see what AI has to say about it. So some thoughts about books, about spirituality, about things that I did in my experience from meditation and also from AI made me start this research. And I had this thought, and now I created my own theory. Let me know what you think. It's called cosmic breath. I don't know if somebody already talked about it, but it's something that I called. And let me tell you what I mean. I was like, okay, let's see what happens in life, how life started. So basically right here, we are consciousness through a human body. So consciousness of life arises in this animal called human being. So it means we become aware of being, of just being. If we make a step backwards, so okay, human beings. In human beings arises consciousness. Where do human beings come from? Human beings, like all the other forms, are a result of the complex stew of chemicals that we call universe. And as I wrote here, some notes for myself, the whole universe works the same way, just on different scales and complexity. What we see in planets is the same push and pull in our atoms and translates in our complex human desires. What happens on the microcosm is the same thing that happens on the macrocosmic and human level. It's the same thing that we in yoga also say. If you understand this, you understand everything else. I always take notes about these things because they are kind of complex and I want to decipher them a bit more. So another step backwards. So chemical things, chemical reactions. So these chemical reactions created life and movement. Everything was still created movement from one thing that reacted to another thing. But it means that they have to be different to react to one another. So the form had to be different. So another step, this chemicals movement and variety came from energy. Things that make things move is energy, which comes, where does all the energy comes from? It all comes from the source. So it means the Big Bang. So the Big Bang created the first forms, which slowly created and formed the diversity and complexity of materials. And these materials and energy move because of laws. But now the existential part. So we came to the conclusion that it's all about laws. Everything happened because of some laws. But where do these laws come from? And where does the energy that created the Big Bang, that came into the Big Bang, came from? And now here, the problem is that we actually don't know. Probably what we're understanding right now with dark matter, and also in yoga, they say in terms of if you take void and pull some energy around it, you will see in the void some virtual particles start to happen. So also in yoga, in Hinduism, in the spiritual culture, this is metaphorically told as a story of Shiva representing void and his feminine side, his wife, dancing around, and he roared and created the whole universe. But I was thinking, what's the purpose of all this? Okay, we don't know exactly. Probably we know, but we don't know exactly. Probably it wasn't even just one Big Bang, it was a roar of Big Bangs, so multiple Big Bangs. Or there were even multiple universes. We still don't know. But what's the purpose? And there was, when I studied philosophy, there was this philosopher called Hegel, which made me understand something that is you can find probably in everything. I use it to understand everything in life. And it's everything has a thesis, so it starts from something, and then goes on the opposite side, the antithesis, and then it goes to a synthesis. So it's like everything starts from something that goes the opposite way and then finds its equilibrium. And I think that if you think about it, the purpose of everything is union. As I told you, if you understand the microcosm, you understand the macrocosm. And what human beings really want, it's union. Yoga, the spirituality, yoga in Sanskrit means union. And if you think about it, what we try to do by eliminating our ego, our karma, by trying to be here instead of in the mind, we try to eliminate these things that divide each other. We try to eliminate all these things that are created in the mind that create labels that divide each other. In the present moment, in here, we are all united. And what we try to do when we translate it into desires and work and everything is just love, is just actually being appreciated, which means union, which means community, which means everything is just union. So if the purpose of this is union, then the purpose of this is union. So if you think about it, the thesis, the starting point is expansion, the Big Bang, creation, division, where we started. And then it goes to the opposite side, the antithesis, which is reunion, which is gravity, which is desires. So everything that pulls to each other. And now it could be an answer to where do these laws come from. Gravity and desires are basically the same thing if you think about it. And the synthesis, so the final thing is union, void, completion, neutrality. And if you think about it, isn't this just a breath? If you think about it, expansion, creation, division, and then antithesis, so reunion, and then completion, so union, void, neutrality. Isn't this like a breath? Isn't the whole universe maybe just a cosmic breath? Maybe multiple universe? I don't know. But I wrote something here. The universe is like a cosmic breath, expansion and union. Everything from microparticles to planets follow the same pattern, just on different scales and complexities. Like life and chemical reactions to human conquest, desires, love, it's always the same thing, if you think about it. Maybe gravity being a negative force, opposite to energy, so it's antithesis, makes the universe neutral again. It's needed, it's allowed to make everything neutral again, wanting to reunite everything into the original form, everything and at the same time nothing, void. And so maybe gravity, and so by understand the micro, you understand the micro. But yeah, that's it. I hope you understand. I don't know. Just wanted to share this with you. As I told you, this is just a documentation of my inner journey. But how can this knowledge help us? Philosophy, how can this help us? Actually, if you think about it, it helps us to exit the mind, exit our ego, and follow the flow of life and everything to live a frictionless life to its highest potential, if you think about it. Because if you understand this, you learn that if you're in union with everything, you just go with the flow of life, frictionless. And this intelligence that made this all possible, the manifestation of it is what we call the divine in us. So the first point that we started talking about was consciousness arises in human beings, and so it makes life, forms the universe, aware of himself. This is our gift as human beings. So the universe becomes aware of itself, sees and understands itself with just 5 senses, but it's the first thing. And so if you think about it, what we call God, the divinity us, is just this. It's just consciousness. So the peak of the thesis is of all this, the goal is to become aware of itself and experience itself. And then coming back on the opposite side, so going beyond and to neutrality again. And in evolution, our mind represents the antithesis. So the thesis is animal side, and then we become aware and we separate things because of our mind. We create division in our mind. And then spirituality and the next new world, as Eckhart Tolle says, represent neutrality again. So the next step in evolution.